that's flying around on the Isle of Wight Scooter Rally. We're on the train now. We're going to be in the airport in about 10 minutes time, where we're going to be jumping on a plane down to Italy to discover what is left of the legends of Lambretta. While we're going through all the palaver of checking in and passports and queuing and tickets and all that malarkey, sit back and enjoy Nigel Cox's beautiful collection of old Lambrettas.
Hi, my name's Nigel Cox and I've got the world's biggest collection of Lambretta scooters. Let me show you around. Right, this all started I think back in about 1986 when, like everybody, I saw an SX200, which was a scooter that I really wanted, and that what started me going. But as we walk around, I'll show you some of the scooters. This one here, TB175 Series 3, this is a classic scooter with all the mod accessories on it. And this is a sort of era that I remember back in '67, people had the scooters and then you bought bits, mirrors, lights and everything, and every spare bit of money you had. Moving on to this, another classic scooter, TB200. This is very nice condition. This is actually done less than 5,000 miles. It's completely original, and I've not seen a nicer one of these. Right, moving on from that, this is still in the 70s now, or the late 60s, 70s. We've got the Vega or the Luna range. This is a range of sort of step-through scooters. Today they look fairly fashionable, but in the time when they was being sold new, in fact they were sold for £99, so really Lambretta lost a lot of money on these scooters. Had they been around now today, I think they may have sold. Now, you'll see two scooters here, the green and the brown one. These are the Model A model, or the 125M. This is how Lambretta started, and these were actually designed just after the war. 1944 was a prototype, and they actually came onto sale in 1947. And although the scooters have got tiny 7-inch wheels, they've got a 3-speed gearbox with a foot gear change, very unusual. It's the only Lambretta that had that. No suspension, they had rubber bushes in the front, and the back was just solid and they just relied on the tyres. But basically this was just to get people moving after the war. They wanted to get the nation rolling again, and this is what happened. You had Piaggio, which was about 6 months before them in 1946, had already got a scooter, and this is what Lambretta came back. Like everything, anything new, they didn't keep this model for very long. In 1948 they brought out the B model. Similar looking scooter, although many things are different. You upgraded to 8-inch wheels. You now had a hand gear change like all the other Lambretta scooters. You had suspension now. You had suspension on the front, which was cantilever, and you had a torsion arm suspension or a bush suspension on the rear. All these are 125cc scooters, top speed of 40-45 mile an hour. Moving on from that, you had the Model C, which was an open model again, bearing in mind scooters up into this era, 1950, hadn't really come into the UK then. A few private ones had come in. It wasn't until 51, so they were a warm climate. However, if I can just take you over to this one here, not restored yet, but original. This is an LC, so this is the same model, but a closed version. This has got panels, leg shields, but the mechanics, the engine, the forks and everything are the same. From the C, they went to a D model. This again had torsion suspension with basically that is a thick bar of about ½ inch in diameter with a spline either end, and this, as it went up and down, the bar actually twisted and pivoted, and that was the suspension on it. This is a 125 Model D, we had a 150 Model D. This is 52, this one's 57, this is still in the mid to late 50s. Also in that era, 53, 54, they had the E model and the F model. These two models never came into the UK. Those scooters are now being sold in England. They didn't import the E and the F model because with our climate we wasn't very nice. Now at the same time we're going to cross over, we'll miss these ones out for a second because I just want to show you some other models. They had the whole range of scooters which were the LDs then, which are now very similar to these open models and the same mechanics, but they were closed scooters with panels with leg shields. Now they made the LD from 52 through to 58, 59. I'll show you the last Italian one, but next to it is interesting. This one here is a French LD made in Troyes in France. This was made in 59-60, and the reason we had these in the UK is because Lambretta concessionaires had sold their quota of Italian scooters and there was no more. So sales were booming in that era and they were looking to get other scooters, and this is why it came into the country. This is one of the last LD Italian scooters, but unlike the normal scooter, this is an electric start. Now they made 3 versions of the electric start, 1954 through to this one. But by the time they came to this one, which was the Mark III version, they were competent enough then to not even put a kickstart on it. And this is the plate here which would have had the kickstart. And how they worked this, where they had the clutch bell and the little starter motor ran here underneath, and it just literally drove the clutch bell. Two 6-volt batteries in the back to make a 12-volt system. Same ignition as a car, so you had 12-volt lights, but you had them as soon as the engine, as soon as it was switched on and it charged the battery up. After that, they went very quickly to this model, which was in 1957 came out, which is a TV Series 1. Now this was a flagship for Lambretta. They were then competing with Vespa, which had Vespa GS 160. Now this came out as a 175 version. In fact, it was actually 170, but they called it a 175. It was a completely different design. You had now 4-speed gearbox. A big advantage because with these 3-speed LDs, you came to a hill and it was very, very difficult to, if you had a steep incline, you were down to first, up to second, down to first. With a 4-speed gearbox, it was much better. Unfortunately, the layout of this engine wasn't that good. They had a centre kickstart with a very big spring that was wound like a clock, and that used to give a lot of trouble, so it was only brought out for a couple of years. And the 125 version, which you can see over there, and the 150 version, which is here, is restored, was the same looking scooter. Let me just show them. You have to excuse everything because we have a lot of parts here as well as the scooters. This was a 150, although looking at it, it's very similar. The engine was completely different, and if I take a panel off to show you, what you had here was the basis of all the other engines that Lambretta made, even to the Spanish and the Indian. You had the main crankcase, which now had the gear cluster at the back, the crank drove from the front, and this was driven by a chain. And this was internal, you had an oil bath in it, and obviously this was a combination, whether it be a 125 or 150-200, all the Lambrettas had running on this engine now. And this came out, as I say, in 1958 for a Series 1, and they ran this only for a short time, because basically the problem they had with the Series 1 is, if you look at it, when you turned the steering, the headlight didn't. So as you went round a bend, you were turning around but the headlight was facing. So they very quickly bought it. This was made for 18 months. And they very quickly bought it out, and then you had the Series 2 range, which you had, again, a 125, a 150 and a 175. The TV 175, which is, the sort of top of the range version, you had shock absorbers on it, you had a more powerful engine, a dual seat. Still the same type of engine as the other one, the same 4-speed gearboxes, different ratios, but the same setup. That was the Series 2. This was made from sort of late 59 to 61, 62. Then after the Series 2s, you went to the Series 3s then, which was, they did a lot of what we call a slim style scooter. This is an LI 150 Series 3. And then they did, at the same time, they did a range of SX 150s, which are here, and an SX 125. And then again, a very, very classic scooter, you'll see on the top of this is an SX 200. Now that's a really classic scooter, very rare, very sought after. So they made the SX 200, then this went on till about 69, 70, and they brought out the GP range then. And again you had a 125, a 150, and this one, a unique scooter in itself. This is a GP 150, but it's only done about 276 miles from new. Everything's original on it, and this is the nicest example of original scooter I've ever seen. So rare to find one in this condition, and especially a British one. And then this would have finished the Lambrettas in the way Lambrettas were being built. This one here is a 200 GP, but an electronic. If you see the sticker on there, this was the electronic for the ignition, only for the points, not electric start or anything. Lambretta did that and finished in 58. So now this is a 200cc scooter. They modified the crankshaft, a bigger, thicker crankshaft flywheel with electronic ignition rather than points. A nice pickup and a contact. They also did a whole range of 3-wheelers. They started off in 1948 with this one. It's very cluttered, but you can get the basic gist of it. This is an FB, which is basically the back end is the same as the B models, but the front, you steer the 2 front wheels. This is only a 125cc. As you can see, this was for ice creams, but you could carry a flat box or whatever. You can carry coal, whatever they wanted to do. So it was very, in Italy, a lot of people used to posh around on these little things. And then this came out. This is an FD version. This is about 57, 58. And now the steering is just one wheel at the front like a conventional scooter. An axle at the back with a little drive shaft with 2 rubber donuts on it. And they made this in lots of versions with a cab or with not a cab, flatbeds and extensions, whatever. The name Lambro comes from the river Lambro, which actually runs through the site in Italy where the scooters were made. This one here is the 175cc. Got the same controls as a scooter. You've got a 4-speed gearbox, but you've now got a cab, you've got a windscreen wiper, so you've got doors, you've got weather protection. In Italy, most people took the doors off, it was an option. This is a different setup with a box, with 2 doors, and they had roller shutters or whatever. Now, one set of scooters I've missed out altogether is what they call the J range. Now, this was a range of scooters bought out in the mid-60s. It never really caught on in England. In fact, they were bought out for the ladies. But however, in Italy, they had the J50, which was the same body but a 50cc engine. Now, this was very popular because obviously 50cc mopeds were very cheap in Italy. In fact, they didn't even run a number plate on them. So a lot of people had a 50cc. So in Italy, they sold well. In this country, they didn't. And there's a range of them here. There's a 100cc, a 125, and a Starstream. But nowadays, not really very collectible, but nice. Another thing here that's interesting, we'll show you. This is another SX200, but as far as we know, it's the earliest one we know of. And at the moment, nobody knows of an earlier version. So interesting to have, and something obviously I don't want to sell.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that. Nigel's collection, fantastic. Probably one of the biggest collections in the world. At the moment, we're driving down the Napoleonic Grand Corniche. I'm about 15-20 minutes away from Italy, where just over the frontier, we've been tipped off that there's a small auto jumble. Hopefully there's going to be loads of interesting parts there, and probably a couple of bikes as well. You never know. There could be loads, there could be nothing. It's a chance you take. We can't get our hopes up too much. In all my visits to Italy, I've never actually seen a Lambretta riding down the road. It's more of a historical phenomena, but a phenomena nevertheless, and the passion for it is still alive. With any luck, we'll be able to find the remnants of a once thriving culture. You got to remember, there's 30, 40 different types of Lambretta and Vespa. You're not going to find everything that you look for that you'll want in one stall. But you can find one bit, you might not find anything that you're after. But the great thing about these Italian auto jumbles is that you've got more stalls over here and more stalls over the other side. They're great. For people who really are serious about the restorations of their bikes and want original pieces, these are the places to come. Here we go. A Mark 1 LD 125 cylinder. I've needed one of those for about 3 months now. Haven't had any joy finding one in Italy, in England rather. Bang, I've got one now though. No, tell a lie, I've got 2. That is absolutely amazing. Grazie signore, perfecto. Amazing. Goodbye. Goodbye. I've been looking for one of these. It's a Luna 50 headlamp rim all over England. I've had no luck whatsoever. I just strolled up to a store. Here it is. Problem over, job done. I've still got change. Fantastic. Oh wow. Now this is a bit of a find. Not much of a find, but a bit of a find. This is obviously an LD125. It's a Mark 3B. Well, you can tell that. You look at the cowlings on the handlebars. The only other ones to have cowlings as standard were going to be the Mark 4 French LD. Slightly different design on the ferrule. Was it the horn casting slightly different? No badges there. But this is generally a pretty complete bike. It's okay. The mudguard's dented around. Try and find a LD mudguard that isn't. It's a bit of a pain in the arse. You buy something like this, you're going to expect it. It is a rare old gem, and it's the sort of thing that in a few years' time you're not going to find any of at all. So if they're there, you've really got a bit of a historic duty, really, to try and get it and try and preserve it. Look at that. This is the sort of thing that should put people off. Oh, look, it's all seized up, all nasty. No surprises there. Typical late LD kickstart mechanism. We've got a Lambretta Series 2 here. Now, this is the first bike I ever owned, and I think they're absolutely fantastic. First thing that attracts me to this one, in fact, it looks straight, it's clean, the mudguard isn't bent around, you've got this nice little sort of stripy, tutti-frutti, handy leg shield rubbers, you've got a floor mat on there, everything's reasonably solid. It's complete, it's had a blowover, you could be forgiven. You look at this and you think, wow, it looks all very original, that must be worth a packet. Well, reality is it costs a packet, but it isn't original paintwork. Things you look for, like the bolts here on top of the forks, they've been painted. Little bits of overspray on the running strips here. This is pretty much your bog standard model. Produced between 1959 and 1961. Very popular here. Very popular in England. You can get loads of bits for Lambrettas and Vespas now. All the bits you generally need to restore, you can get from catalogues, you can buy brand new reproductions. But there's some stuff you just cannot get. Now, where are you going to find a Lambretta Model E plate like that? Absolutely amazing. I don't need one, but if you needed one, there's only one place to come, and that's an Italian auto jumble. Oh, now this is interesting. This is the size of the wheels, a 7-inch wheel from a Model A.
Comprata qui.
Yeah?
Qui, questa mattina.
Sì?
Stamattina.
Wow! Now this was bought in the morning. This is a 350/7 tyre. Only myself and people like myself think this is incredible. Now, the end of the day, it's getting a bit chilly now. We've put an extra layer of clothing on. It's worth hanging around and carrying on because you never know. Another 5 minutes, I might find that carburettor for my GS. I may find a light switch for my Model B. You never, ever, ever know what you're going to find in these things. Here I have an exhaust for my Luna 50. Brand spankers, go straight on there. I'm really chuffed with that. I've got a rather tatty exhaust for my Model LC here, but I need one. It only costs a couple of quid, and I can get the thing on the road now. That's absolutely amazing. As far as I'm concerned, this is a great day out. That was the end of the auto jumble. Well, so we're heading off now. We've got to find a hotel for the night. We're driving down towards Rimini, where we've got another auto jumble tomorrow. It's going to be about 4 to 5 hours driving. It's a very satisfying day. It's a shame it's dark now because there's just everywhere you look there's somewhere interesting, but all in all, an amazing little auto jumble. Right, it's the next day. It's Sunday morning. We've just rested, recuperated, and now we've got about half an hour before we get to Rimini. Here we are in Rimini. Now we're just coming up to the National Motorcycle Museum. Now inside here we've got another big auto jumble to go to. It's a big 2-day event. A lot of the smaller jumbles you don't find a great deal of stuff at anymore, and the jumbles are certainly dying out. The commercial element to it is almost over now. If you have a Lambretta now, hold on to it. Watch the price. It's going to go up and up and up because the only place to replace these old bikes comes from Italy, and the supply is drying up here now. You won't find SX200s, you won't find